Manifesting serendipity, the law of attraction, synchronicity, what you draw to you. This is what this is about. And you know, I have to say, in my life, I have never dealt with this subject in the way you are going to see me deal with it today. Because I never understood it. And nothing that I have seen in any of the literature, like the secret, book and so on, nobody ever seemed to understand what we're going to talk about today. I've never seen it. Never seen it anywhere said. And it's too bad, because I would have liked somebody to say it to me rather than me having to spend years, groping around and finally discover it for myself the way I did when I promised you this day. But truly, you know who did it? Here's an interesting thing. Manifesting is major New Age stuff. And all of a sudden, this major business coach, who is one of the godfathers of business coaching, Jim Collins, suddenly gets crazy about luck. And in the book, his latest book, he writes that the whole book could have been about luck. Barb?
Yes?
Are you...
I was just reading, sorry.
Okay.
Law of attraction triggers.
I just want to know you're on camera.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want you to know, so if you're sitting there like ignoring what I'm saying, it's not actually great for the viewers to see that.
Okay, for all the viewers.
Yeah, they like seeing that you're getting something out of what I'm saying. Then they sort of mimic it and they get something too,
Okay.
So...
I get triggered by the law of attraction.
Yeah, yes, I think that's probably true. And you know what? Like, you said something really important. Like, I manifested you, and you are a great, absolutely great people person, and also somebody who sees, you're very perceptive, and you see things and say them to me, and they make a huge difference for me. The things that you tell me, and almost every conversation, I come away with something I didn't have before I talked to you. So I mean, I manifested you years ago.
That's how you manifest in others too. You create it in others. Like I saw Barb in this room, and I recognized who Barb was, and I always have. And sometimes, Barb, you forget who you are, or you don't believe it, or something like that,
Yeah.
So I manifested in Barb that same thing you're talking about there. So Barb became that person for me, and it supported me, and this thing inspired, and been incredible her whole life.
Well, see, here's the thing, people are always manifesting. Everybody is always manifesting. The law of attraction never stops working. It works all day in your life. The question is, what do you do with what you manifest?
Yeah.
And that's what this meeting is about. That's what Jim Collins talked about in his book. He talked about what he calls it return on luck. His word for manifesting is luck. And you and I both know that when people talk about Microsoft, or if they talk about Genentech, or they talk about, Providence Insurance Company, and they say, or Southwest Airlines, and they say, well, they were very lucky. Or they say, oh, they were very unlucky in that particular period, and so on. And they're always using luck to explain what happens in business.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs was lucky, Bill Gates was lucky. He lived, a few blocks from the University of Washington when he was 13. So what do you expect, And what Collins was saying is that there were a lot of kids who were good on computers who lived in Bill Gates' neighborhood.
No.
during that period. And they didn't sneak into the University of Washington at 2 o'clock in the morning and use the computer system for 4 hours and then go home and pretend they'd been sleeping the whole time. He was the only one there. The room was virtually empty. You with me, Barb?
Yeah.
You get the idea? So that's what that Colin's point is, that he did something with his luck. And see, what you said to me the other day, because I manifested you, you're a great person, and you said that I don't do immunics with you. I don't, give you something to test. I don't help you clear the thing that you're stuck in. And that was a really good thing that you said. Because you were talking about what I'm doing with my, thing that I manifested, you. How am I doing with that? Am I just taking this wonderful thing I manifested and wasting it? So that's the question: is what is your return on your luck? Like also Collins was saying, some of the things we manifest are bad luck. That like they slapped this major government regulation on that insurance company. I can't remember the name of it anymore. I think it was Provident in California. And
AIG?
what was it?
Not AIG.
No. And the chairman just used that luck to turn the company into like this major 10x earnings company that beat the market by 10 times consistently for 22 years. That's what he did with his bad luck that he manifested. It's amazing what you can do with a piece of bad luck. That can be the turning point of your life. The job you didn't get, the person who said no to you and you walked away. And that can be the turning point of your life that gets you where you need to go. So I want to do something, a demonstration. Because before I do the demonstration, and I want to do it with Greg, so you won't be able to eat, sorry, but I need to do this with you. But before I do, I just want to tell you something else. That every single person who ever came to this web college manifested the cure for their disease. Think about that. Do you know how many people have come to this web college? Like Greg was reading our stats long ago. And you were talking, now you're on the big screen now, Greg. You're the star. That's your sanitary water bottle, I see. I have one of those too. Franny gave me. Makes the water taste better. And as you were saying, like this 1 month you told me about, it was years ago, but the 1 month you were saying like it was like 43,000 unique new visitors in that month came to the web college. 43,000 people manifested the cure for their disease. And what did they do? They left the web college within 8 seconds. Most of them. Like
The average time was,
yeah, 42,987 of them, left within 8 seconds. It tells you the time that people spend on the web college. Now, another interesting fact about our particular website is that of the people who do spend time, they tend to spend a lot more time than people spend on most websites. Like the average for a popular website that people really use is around 3 minutes. Our website is around 9.5 minutes. That's an average, which means that some people are spending hours. And people have told me that. Like one of the people in the 4.5 hour movie once said to me that she went into every click on the hub and looked at what it was, including down through the clicks to the lesson, and she looked at the lesson. she was a skimmer. You know, she didn't read everything, but she looked at everything. What is this? So you can imagine how long these people are staying. I mean, I've had people tell me they were up like all night looking at the web
I
column.
remember.
You know, okay. So, and then, but most people manifest the cure for their disease and don't cure their disease. They get nothing out of it. But they manifested it just like anybody else. And you know, we always said that nothing you get comes from anything you do. And that's true. Like, there's an example, a guy put an ad in the, one of these CEOs put an ad in the paper, in a trade journal, for a research scientist. And what he got was a research scientist who pushed genetic breakthroughs to the edge of the envelope in his company.
Yeah. He didn't advertise it, but that's what he got, right?
You couldn't advertise it. This guy walked in, took the job, worked 15-hour days, 7 days a week for 2 years. He was Chinese, I don't remember his name. And he, like, the company beat the market by like 22 times year after year. It was just unbelievable what happened. It was, and he just came from this, but see, you can't put another ad in and get another one. You know, it didn't come from the ad, but you still have to do the things. See,
Yes.
you still have to, you know, post your comments, run
Right.
the outline, talk to the people, and so on. But what you manifest, that's not going to manifest you anything. You're going to manifest it. It doesn't come from what you do. It comes from who you are. The things that you attract come from who you are, from your being. And a lot of times, by the way, you manifest things and you don't even know what they are. You don't know what you've manifested, and you just, either you get sucked into this negative thing or lose a positive thing or whatever, because you didn't recognize what it was. It looked good when it wasn't, or it looked bad when it was great, and so on, or just you weren't interested in it. So now I want to do this demonstration with you, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, you had a breakthrough, and you remembered the moment when your father told you that you couldn't sit on his lap anymore.
Right.
Which is what, you know, when I was a therapist, we used to call that a primal incident.
Yeah.
And I want you to test, did a trauma open at that moment?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you can work the trauma at some other point, possibly with Ross, you know, and you would date it and get the length of time it was stayed open before it closed. See, traumas open and close, but most traumas have closed but still affect you.
Sure.
You just, you know, but a trauma like that can last, you know, 12 years before it closes, or, you know, 2 or 3 years certainly, and then close, and then it will affect you for the rest of your life. So what we're going to deal with is the rest of your life part. Okay, so now what I want you to do, we're going to do something that's very much like the mother process in the intensive. I am actually not going to play a role. Only you will play a role. I'm just going to be the person you talk to. Remember, it was like, I'm your mother, talk to me, but the guy didn't try to channel the person's mother, remember?
Right.
Okay, so you're the little boy, I'm your father, and you were just told that you can't sit on my lap, talk to me. And we're going to see how this affects manifesting. So it helps if you look at the camera lens, just because it'll help me with eye contact.
That helps you, right?
Yeah, it helps me. Yeah, it helps me be with you.
What happened? What's going on? Why not? Why can't I? You know, what's changed? I don't understand. I feel lost. I don't know what's happening to me. What's wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? What do I have to do? I'm just I don't think that I'm good anymore.
Okay, great. Now, we used to do this thing in the intensive for hours.
Yeah.
But with this is a demonstration, so we're just going to
Sure.
do this for, like a short time like that. Okay. Now, what I want you to do now is you're going to change roles. You're going to be your father hearing that. And let's see, I want you to, channel, become your father, and talk to the little boy who was just talking to you.
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize what I was doing. I'm just so wrapped up in my own world, my life, my work. I'm worried. I am scared. I don't know how to raise children. I've never done it before. My father and mother didn't do such a good job. And I know it, so I'm learning all this for the first time. Thank God for Alba, because she's just knows more. And I can see that you're hurting. I am too. And so I will learn about you and about me at the same time. And we'll always love you and do love you. Now that you're getting bigger, just didn't know what to do. And I think I have ideas about how you should grow up and how I should be, and I guess I sort of wanted to wean you from being dependent on my affection or attention.
Okay, good. Cut. Now, which do you feel more powerful in? Which role?
The father role.
Also, see, this is what we're doing here is based on Gestalt therapy. It's a type of therapy that was popular a long time ago. People still practice it, and you can see movies about it on YouTube. If I were actually doing a therapy session with you, you notice how you were turning your body back and forth?
Yes.
When you were your father? And I would have asked you to exaggerate that motion and feel what was going on there and stuff. And there's all these different things that you do. We're not going to do any of that. This is just a demonstration of it. This is about manifesting. It's about how these things interfere with knowing what to do with what you've manifested.
Yes.
Okay? Now, you have just played two inhabitants of your psyche.
Yes.
Okay, those two live inside of you, your father and the little boy that is you. And then there are other ones. There's lots of you in there, lots of different people in there, Everybody has that. This isn't being crazy. It's only crazy if the guys really start to disassociate from each other and have long discussions. But if, but what you can hear in the two themes is, for one thing, both of them are confused. Neither of them really knows how to get what he wants or what he wants.
Yeah.
And there are other themes like that. Now, you go into this you know, this, and what happens is that those throw you into the eighth dimension.
Yeah.
Like when you were talking with Franny last night, you were eighth dimensional. And if there's something that everybody needs to know about manifesting, it's that if you're on the eighth dimension, whatever it is you're manifesting will not stop manifesting, but you will absolutely not know how to relate to it or anything else. Because from the eighth dimension, you don't relate to reality. Now, Barb, can you remember, like, recall a while back, you know, like, there were a few times when you called me in the middle of the night, and it was like maybe 5 o'clock in the morning my time. I saw the time later. I don't hear the phone ring, you know. I got your message hours later, you know, maybe in the afternoon or the next day or something. But whatever. Anyway, and you would call like distraught, you know, in the middle of that. You couldn't sleep. Remember this? Mm-hmm. That's a magnesium deficiency. And that's to see, Greg, you have a magnesium deficiency as well as Barb. And when you have a magnesium deficiency, you will do things like go into the eighth dimension or channel the fourth dimension or go to the 13th dimension or whatever. And when this happens, you can't take advantage of what you've manifested. Now, for example, you have manifested a real partner in your life in Franny. Like somebody who really loves and cares about you, and somebody who's capable of love. Now that's important because lots of people are not capable of loving anybody. Or loving in any meaningful way. Like, for example, it's possible that though your father does love you, he may not actually be capable of loving anybody.
Yeah.
You know, but he still loves people. Like he loves, but it can't be really an active verb.
Right.
It can be a state of being in him, you know, and
yeah, it's a state of being alive and being related.
Yeah, and it can hurt him, you know, to love and not be able to love. And he ain't anywhere near as bad as what it could be. I mean, people kill their children and stuff.
Right.
You know, they don't just like not let them sit on their laps. So, lower the camera a bit. Okay, I like the way you're sitting back. Just if you lower if you lower the camera a little more, maybe.
Too close to the.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So, like when you're talking to Franny, like, and you're eighth dimensional, these things come out like, I don't care, I can't, I don't know what I want, there are a lot of I don'ts in it. So I don't is the big deal in those role plays. Like both of the characters you played kept saying I don't about various things. I don't know, I don't understand, I don't know how, thank God for Alva, she knows how, I don't. So whether you're the little boy or whether you're the father, the I don't is like running through the whole thing. The I do, if you remember last night, Franny said something very, very good and very important to you. She said, the thing that you need to say, the thing that you haven't said is, I love you, I'm with you, I want to come to Florida, I want to do immunics, I want to cure this, you know, all these I do, I can sentences. You with me on this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So and what you've got instead is deadness. Now, so you've manifested this wonderful person who sees through the problem and really is capable of being there for you and helping you. And what you're doing with it is that begins with I don't, because that it's interfering with you knowing what to do with what you manifested. Like you manifested Franny, but you don't know what to do with her.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line on it. And this is the major problem that everybody has with everything they manifest when they have a problem with it. They can't use it. And these companies that you can go back to eating too if you want. I don't mean you shouldn't eat at all. I just wanted you to play the role without eating, but it's fine to eat, these companies that beat the market by 10 times, they knew what to do with what they manifested. Like, I'm using Amundsen as an example because here's something like Amundsen wanted to go to the North Pole, and somebody, I can't remember who it was anymore, went there before he did. It doesn't matter who it was, but what he did with that, like he knew what to do with that. He went to the South Pole instead of the North Pole. He actually knew how to respond to that. And all these people around him were telling him, but you're supposed to go to the King of Norway, but you're supposed to go to the North Pole. And he didn't even interact with them. He knew what to do. He also knew they didn't know what to do. So he did the right thing. He did what he needed to do, which was he went to the South Pole. So he gets everybody on the boat, and they all think they're going to the North Pole. He's got this huge team that he's taking with him, and they all think they're going to the North Pole. He's got them on the boat, and he says, I have a little change that I've made that I want to tell you about. And he says, listen, I'll drop you at the next port if you don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. So he offered them an out, and they all signed on, and they all went to the South Pole. People believed in him. And he was just wonderful all the way through, and they had a lot of fun. Now, another thing is that he meant, like, this prayer that we say, I'm manifesting the technical things I need to do my mission.
Yeah.
And I'm attracting remedies and antidotes to dysfunction. And those kinds of prayers where you're attracting tools to do my mission.
Yes.
And there was a lot of research about the South Pole that Scott didn't bother to consult. Amundsen consulted it. And he built his base camp 60 miles closer to the South Pole. He manifested that. He manifested the information coming his way. But then he knew what to do with it and what to make of it and how to use it.
Yes. And
he was taking a risk. Because suppose he got there, nobody knew for sure. And suppose he got there and found that this big sheet of ice. And he would have had to go back somewhere else, But what he found was a place where he was able to build his base camp. So that is, what's important is if you have any kind of dysfunction, you are not going to be able to know what to do with what you manifested. Like we have all manifested the cure for cancer. And we're sitting on this call saying, well, what do we do now? It must be because we're dysfunctional. In one way or another, we're all dysfunctional. And personally, every time I invent something new now, I realize what I've been doing wrong for the last 20 years and how I was too dysfunctional to see what I saw yesterday. For example, let me come back to Barb. Can I work with you, or are you in the middle of something?
Making lunch, Bill, put it, hold on.
If you need to put your lunch in, go ahead and, I don't want to like stop you from eating.
It's okay. I can talk.
All right, okay. All right, that's fine. Let's see. Greg and I were talking about something that I want to bring you up to speed on. So that's what I'm doing here. We were talking about, and actually I did this with you last night too, so I'm sure you'll remember it. This needs to be in this manifesting movie. We were talking about you were saying that we need to turn ourselves into people who attract an ally. And I realized that that's dead wrong. We are already who we need to be, and we don't have to turn ourselves into shit. Nothing. What we need to do is recognize when we manifest the person. The ally is supposed to turn himself or herself into somebody who attracts us.
Yeah.
And when I was telling this story about Nate, and I'm gonna sit down in front of the camera and I'm gonna tell the whole story of Nate. But I never realized this, but he goes over to Jane Fonda when she's sitting at a lunch table. And he sits down and he asks if he can sit with her. And in that moment, she chooses to turn herself into somebody who attracts him when she says yes. And he finds that attractive. The fact that she would let this, stranger come interrupt her conversation. She's sitting with a friend talking, and this total stranger walks over and asks if he can sit with her, and she says yes, and he likes that. And that's what causes him to open up and reach out and do the things that he does with her. It's that he approves of her. And what our outline is, when we show people how to cure things, we have this outline we run. And by the way, the outline now has something in it that tells you that when you're doing the outline with somebody, you should tell them, you should pause and you should say, okay, excuse me a moment, I have to consult my outline.
Yeah. Saw that. Yeah.
Have you seen that yet, Barb?
What part of the outline? No.
You tell people, Barb, are you interacting with me or with something else?
No, with you.
Okay. You tell the person, I just have to pause here a moment and look at my outline.
Well, okay.
Now, does that seem like a good thing to you?
I don't think it's bad.
Well, you want to know, like, I'm listening to this book where this surgeon is talking about using checklists when he does surgery.
Well,
And I would never, ever want to have surgery with a surgery team that did not have a checklist. Not just one checklist, but a lot of checklists.
yeah.
I would be scared to death because they operate on the wrong side of your body.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing to have a checklist that day. I was routine trying to,
Yes,
no matter how tired I was, I would have had a checklist.
that's right. So, so that's the deal. Now, in order see what happens is, let's say, let me go back to Greg. You can eat or whatever you're doing, Barb, or make your food. But I want to go back to Greg. Do you remember when you were in a deli on University Place in New York, and Susan Sarandon was getting something? She was standing next to you, and she was sort of like opened up to you, and like smiled.
Walked right up to me like she was trying to pick me up.
Yeah, right, okay. And, you know, you could see that Susan Sarandon, like, she likes interesting people, and and the thing is that she was attracting you at that moment.
Yes.
She chose you, and she chose to attract
To
you.
actually do that, to
Yes.
get attraction.
And what you needed was to not be preoccupied with yourself so that you could see her and
Right.
allow yourself to be attracted by her.
Yes.
So, and because you manifested her and become friends with her, and then, you know, you could have gone on from there and done whatever you did, you know. But what you did instead was you gave her sort of like a card about our course that we had then.
Right.
And it was just silly because what you were really doing was pushing her away. You know, you just didn't she was attracting you, and you were just too self-involved to let her actually work her magic and to be drawn into her life.
Right.
You know? So this is what happens when we are not,
Capable of using what we manifest, or don't know what to do with what we manifest.
well, it's what happens when you're on the 8th dimension. It's what happens when you're on the 4th dimension. It's what happens when you're on the 5th dimension and thinking about your life and your family, and you're just overly preoccupied with all your issues, or you're trying to cure something and it's why these people they want to cure their herpes, they've manifested the cure and they can't seem to get going because they're trying so hard to cure their herpes that they aren't functional enough to allow the thing that has attracted them to work its magic. They can't interact with what they've manifested because they're preoccupied. See, it's a preoccupation. They're preoccupied with curing their herpes. So they can't interact with the cure for their herpes. Does this make any sense?
Yes.
Barb, does it make sense to you?
It makes painful sense, yes.
What about Ross? Let me ask Ross.
Yes, it makes sense.
What do you see anything about your person there's this person who you're trying to help cure herpes named Gulu, and what do you see about him from what I just said?
I think he wants very badly to succeed. This is my feeling. And I have worked with him yesterday, and he wants to have a signal, okay? But he can't. That's why I suggested him to use the pendulum, and then when you said it was better not, I told him not to do it. And he always told me, okay, I won't do that, I'll try with my fingers. So, from what I see and what I feel, he wants to succeed. And I also remember that when I started doing immunics, I couldn't have a signal immediately. It took me about a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I tried and tried every day, but I couldn't. I didn't give up. And in fact, in the end, I got my signal. And at a certain point, I used the pendulum, and maybe yes, maybe not, but it's possible that got me going. And anyway, to answer your question, I think that Guru wants to be able to cure himself.
Now, do you think that his preoccupation, do you think that your preoccupation got in the way of you getting a signal when you started?
No, it wasn't preoccupation because when I first tried, I put my finger like this, and I immediately felt like a pulse between my fingers.
Okay, right.
It was a signal, but in the past I used to do mudras. I thought, I was very irrational, and that's what came in the way. I thought, putting my fingers like this, I closed the circuit, and that's why I feel a pulse, and I didn't recognize my signals. So what got in the way
Well, that's a
was
perfect
my
example.
rationality.
That is a perfect example of having manifested a signal and not recognizing what you manifested.
And not to know what to do with it.
People often don't recognize what they've manifested.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think that Gulu is doing?
I think he is too worried and too tense. He wants too much to get a signal. I told him, don't give it so much importance. When you have a minute or two during the day, try, ask a question, and see if you get an answer from your fingers. Do it as much as possible, but without putting all that importance and attention on it. But I know it's difficult because you want to do it.
Well, you're on the right track because he needs to make it less important and be less tense.
Yes. In fact, I told him to relax, to take some breath, and I think that can help a lot.
Well,
But
also,
he's a very good guy. He wants to do it.
well,
He wants
also you're
control.
telling him. See, now that I've put in my 2 cents about not using a pendulum, if you want to do a pendulum with him, go ahead. You know, you don't have to do everything I tell you. I just wanted to say what I had to say about it.
Okay.
I think it's.
Well,
I think personally that it's best for people to just, you know, like, damn the strategy, just go straight at him, you know.
you know what, Bayard? You have much more experience than me, and I trust you completely. So you tell me it's better if he doesn't use the pendulum.
Well, in this particular
I think
case,
you're right.
you have more experience than me because you think it's possible that your pendulum got you going. So maybe you're the leading expert on pendulum, you know, triggering signals. And I'm not because I never used a pendulum. So maybe you, in this particular case, you know more than me. I am not an all-seeing, all-knowing, godlike person. I'm just godlike without being all-seeing and all-knowing.
Okay.
And and I'm also not your mother.
You're not? You're my father.
No, I am me. So you got to make your own decisions about this stuff. And whatever you do, like, you know, I learn a lot from you and what you do. Like if you come back to me and you say, hey, guess what? You know, Gulu used the pendulum for a few hours, you know, and all of a sudden he started getting finger signals. And so did I when I did it. And it'll just start to be a regular thing with us when people are stuck, that we'll start telling him to use pendulums.
Yeah, but did you remember Jesus, the last call? He used the pendulum, but nothing happened.
Yeah, he got, and also when he was getting signals, he didn't ever get the good feeling or any other thing. And that's a little problem with the pendulum. I'm not real sure that pendulums translate into getting the good feeling.
No, I can tell you it doesn't.
So maybe it is a dead end and I'm right about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I want to wait and see if he can get some signal from his fingers, and then I will see.
Well, what
But
I
I want
wanted...
to tell him to be more relaxed. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, pay attention if you feel something good.
Right.
Because that's the most important thing.
Well, maybe you're getting better at showing him how to do it.
It's possible.
It's possible. See, now, what I want to do now is I want everybody to contribute, if possible, if you can think of things that interfere with knowing what to do with what you attract. And we've named a few, being preoccupied with yourself, being on the eighth dimension. Can you think of other ones?
In this particular situation with Guru or generally speaking?
No, not with Gulu.
Generally speaking.
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah.
Okay, let's say that I get a wonderful job. What may get in the way could be, am I good enough? What if I fail? Fear of failure, for example.
Okay, thank you. That is definitely one.
And another one is, let's say that I get a family willing to buy my house, and at the same time I get the perfect flat for me and my cat. What may get in the way could be, this is too good to be true.
Okay. This is too good to be true is definitely something that gets in the way for people.
Yes.
I heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It can't be happening to me because things like this.
Exactly. And something else, let's say I get a lot of money, I don't know, let's say I win the lottery. What may get in the way is, oh my God, will I be able to handle all this money?
Well, let me tell you something about that. It is a known fact that for many, if not most lottery winners, winning the lottery brings disaster into their lives.
Yeah.
It's true.
It destroys their lives. Within a few years, they have no money left. They, and also many of their friends just vanish.
Yeah.
And what for one reason or another, and they absolutely have no idea how to relate to the money or what to do with it.
Yeah. And this is the evidence, then you have to know what to do with what you manifest.
Well, it's like with the outline. If you think that the outline is about you and how good you run it, then you're not going to be able to do what you need to do, no matter how good you are at running the outline and improvising all the things that have to be improvised when you're running it. When you're doing it, if it's about how good you are, you're not going to be able to do what you need to do with the person who you've manifested to run it with. And it always comes down to here's this person who I've manifested to do this with, and I have this outline, and the outline's supposed to help me, and what you're doing, the thing that you're doing with the person you manifest is that you're actually testing them.
Yeah.
See, I've noticed that the knee-jerk reflex is to try to make the person succeed.
Yes.
But what you're actually doing is evaluating the person, and if they fail, then you can stop spending your time with them.
Yes, you're right. I have to learn that and remember and do it.
So if you were going to sum that up, would it be the ability
We can't hear you, Franny.
of...
You're on mute.
Oh, no, I'm not. You can't hear me now?
No,
No.
they can't hear you. You can walk over here if you want and talk.
I'll just talk directly into the phone. Can you hear me now?
No,
I can hear you.
we don't hear you. You're not coming through.
Now?
Nope.
No?
You really need to fix this. Just walk over and talk, because we're making a movie here, so...
Well, all I was saying was that if you were going to sum that up, now I forgot what I was going to say, so it's kind of hard to...
Well, one of the things that was like I started to get scared that Greg was flunking out of his relationship with you. You know, when I was thinking, gee, is Greg going to like ruin his life, you know? Because you can do that. Like you can, I mean, it seems outlandish because you've been together like over 20 years, but people do that and they just, like they flunk their relationship. And see, the whole point of the outline, I'll tell you one of the ways that this came about. There was a woman who I manifested years ago who looked like a real potential ally. And I spent a lot of time over a long time with her, and it was good, you know. I got all kinds of good advice and tips and so on, and it really, you know, she helped create the Cure Drive as we know it. And so she was a big help. And at the same time, she was the wrong person for me to be investing in the way I was investing in her, and I just didn't understand that. And later on, Franny, after that was over, Franny said to me that I needed to simply ask her right from the beginning, do you want to do this? Will you do this? And then she could just say yes or no. And if she said no, then I should go find somebody else. And it really did interfere with me finding somebody else to get stuck with her. And that's what the outline is about. The outline, you have to be able to evaluate what you manifest. And when you're dysfunctional, you will never be able to evaluate what you have manifested. You're just like not in your right mind. You know? And so you're going to lose the things that you manifest one way or another. These wonderful things. So now we're going back to making this list again, you know, of let's make this nice list.
Well, I started making the list, and that's why the last one I was trying to clarify what the actual, boil it down, because it was like a lot of discussion. And I had an idea, but then I forgot what it was.
You can take the phone off, nothing's coming through it.
No, I have it on mute. Now, can you hear me now?
No. Nothing's coming through it.
Well, I don't know what's the matter. It's not my headset.
You just take the phone off and come over here and be here. Okay, anybody else? What are things that interfere with...
The first thing that comes to mind with all these stories is like, I mean, it's like I'm gonna cry. It's like really like that I've lost people, or like really great people have showed up that were really excited and, you know, fairly happy and clear and healthy, and I, you know, sabotaged in some important ways, or didn't believe, like the too good to be true thing, or I had my own agendas, or...
Let me tell you one main... By the way, the same things apply to having a relationship with a significant other that we're talking about here, Barb. So
I know.
Since you've been, like, you know, interested in that...
That's what I'm dealing with. I mean, I feel like I had, you know, everything I could have possibly wanted and more, and just kind of just... I'm amazing. It's amazing how I can just disintegrate again.
Well, let me put this another way. As far as allies for the Cure Drive, tipping Cure into global consciousness, we probably have stood in front of and been talking with our ally, the person, probably 50 times if you take the collective group of us, and we just didn't know it or see it. Or the person lived down the street and was open to us, or whatever. And we just didn't know it or didn't see it.
Relationships are the same way.
So
Like,
unconsciousness?
Unconsciousness is a very important thing that would get in the way of...
Well, I think anything that causes that, like
Distractions?
trauma or something from the past where you just,
yeah,
when you failed some other time, you say, oh, you know, just a memory of.
exactly. That's what happened to me last weekend. I was with, you know, I'm reading this book, okay? I'm reading this book. It's on my bedside table. Then I manifest the person who wrote the book, like, in my car with me. You know, with some other women that are kind of, you know, locally important and to know people and the whole day I didn't really run the outline. I mean, I was with them, they liked me, they were all happy at the end, but I didn't run the outline per se, and that was,
And what you need to do is take a person, you do this with one person. You have to always run the outline with one person, but several of you can run it.
yeah,
And that could really be good, because then one is watching to see if you're missing anything, while the other one, because you run the outline from memory, like you don't sit there and stare at it and,
yeah, I know, but that's why I think sometimes that when we talk about partners and love of life and all that, like the right partner could be the key person too, because then they might be the one that helps you or their chips it with you.
it's absolutely possible
Other
that
than the
that's true.
person-
Well,
other than the
actually, that
person
your
himself.
partner really has to be someone who doesn't like reject what you're interested in. They have to really be interested in who you are and,
And
what
you
you're
know,
doing.
here's another interesting thing that partners make, like Franny and Greg made the Cure Drive happen. It is a result of their partnership. I mean, you have like an example of that, like staring you in the face. And Barb, you have been looking at that example for 20 years.
I know. That's why I wanted to have a partner that did Unix.
Right. Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. So anyway, another thing that I just realized is preconceived notions. For example, if a person who's running the outline thinks that they're supposed to cause the person to succeed, like if they have that preconceived notion, then they won't be able to evaluate the person they're talking to. Let me tell you a little story. Part of my outline is my answering machine message. Like my answering machine message begins the sorting process with people. And yesterday I got a message from a guy who said that he has been studying herpes cures. He's really into it, and he's been like looking all over the web for herpes cures. And he studied the herbs cure and the other, whatever the other things are. And that he wants to talk to me. Maybe I can help him. And I eliminated him right there. I never even had to call him. It was just bingo. I say it saved me my time, because you can see he didn't know what I was talking about in the message.
Yeah.
And it says in the message, like, don't leave me a message. Like, if you don't know what this is, you got no clue, and he had no clue what it was. And he asked me to call him anyway. And this is what people will do. Greg, you're leaning on your finger.
I am.
You're manifesting people who will waste your time and suck you dry, and they will get nothing from it, and neither will you. They can't let it in. They're not going to get anything out of it. Greg, what do you have to say about that? You're on the big screen here.
That's true. They're not with you. They're not manifesting you. They're not seeing you and seeing what you're doing, and they're in their own world, and they're not really aligned. They're not. They're not open to what we're doing. They're not recognizing it. Well, yeah, you're wasting your time.
I tend to blame myself if they don't recognize it. Like right now I have one very
Yes.
close friend that you guys all know that just found out he has cancer. And I have a cousin, like my first cousin, who just is undergoing chemotherapy for breast cancer right now. And it's like how the first guy is having surgery today.
Well, blaming yourself will
Yeah.
definitely interfere with you evaluating these people,
Yeah.
because you're evaluating yourself.
Yeah, that's how I'm doing.
A main huge area of your problem is simply that you are preoccupied with yourself when you need to be preoccupied with this other guy, And when this guy called me and left me a message, I wasn't thinking, is my answering machine message good enough? Should I change it so he'll understand it? What I said is, it's good enough, and he didn't understand it, so I'm not going to call him back. That's it, over and out. And I moved on, and then I realized, like, God, I had this great. He turned out to be this great example to use in this movie, and I was really glad that he called me then, because I could show in nature what it looks like to apply this principle.
There was a little course I took. I think it was based on a book, and I don't know, it had initials like DM something, and it was with that one of our graduates. She gave it in her living room, and it was basically the bottom line about reality is that you can't, if you can't really evaluate where you are in reality, you will tend to be snapped one way or the other. In other words, like, okay, you're in this room and you're thinking about being in the other room. You can't manifest where you want to go next if you're thinking that you can't identify where you are. And so it's like a rubber band between 2 points. So, like, if you want to make money, you have to evaluate exactly how much money you make. You can't keep saying, I'm not making any money, because that's going to pull you back behind where you were going in the first place. So now you're here, and the only way you can do it is hold the actual reality and the future with the rubber band and forget the past.
Well, let me tell you something Jim Collins wrote in another book, and it's about something he calls the flywheel principle. And the idea is that there's this 3,000-pound flywheel that you want to get moving. And right now it's not moving at all. What happens is you don't try to get it going at full speed. What you do is you walk by it, and as you're doing something else, you just walk by it and you give it a little push. And it just starts moving very slowly. But once it's moving, it will continue to move. And if you can get your whole team doing that, then everybody walks by it and they give it a little push.
Well, that is another principle.
Yeah.
It's like...
Can you stop?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so you give it another push, and at some point, this thing is really roaring along. So that's sort of like
Well,
what
that is
about.
how you progress in your reality, is that you can't make humongous changes because
you keep pushing.
it's too much tension
you just
between
keep
the 2
pushing on the
points.
flywheel and now bring it to a conclusion.
Yeah, so you have
So yeah.
and you have
So
to acknowledge
that's-
where you are and then go to the start. She was saying go.
Okay, so then you bring it to a conclusion. You don't keep developing it.
No, and then but you're looking at the next thing.
No, I mean when you're talking.
Oh, I see.
So you stop talking now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I wasn't finished.
You made your point, so you stop talking.
Okay.
You don't try to make all the points and keep talking till 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wah!
You just make this one point and then you stop.
Okay.
See, that will interfere
So what's that?
with it's compulsive behavior.
Compulsive behavior.
Yeah, you
Okay.
have a history of compulsive behaviors.
Okay.
Oh, I resemble that remark. Thought that was my thing. I'm obsessive. I'm more obsessive than control.
I don't know. I think you and I are,
One of the
are very
things
similar.
that he
Mark,
was
sometimes.
writing about in Good to Great, he was saying with something like Steve Jobs, like why would anybody ever want to work for somebody like that? Like the guy was like paranoid, he was obsessive, he was compulsive, he was crazy, and he led everybody into the jaws of death and demanded like years of like backbreaking labor that went nowhere and all this stuff. He did it all. Like how did these people like Gates and Jobs and all these other people, how did they ever get anybody to work with them? You know, they're maniacs. They're all maniacs. They're crazy. And you know that like he didn't really have an answer for that. He was just, saying it. It was just something he was saying about them. But they did. They got people to work with them. But it was always very few. Well, they always had very few, very exceptional kind of people.
Well, people overlook so much, they, for the sake of the job, for the sake of the money or what they're doing.
Oh, no. No, not these people. They got the best people in the world to work with them. These guys weren't somebody who would overlook somebody because they wanted to have a job. They could get a job anywhere.
Mhm.
And they chose Gates. They chose Jobs.
And Walsh, it's GE. I mean, Walsh was...
Oh, nuts. Nuts. And you know what? I have to say, I remember John Penhale told me a story about how he was looking for a job, and he said that he could have made more money working for Citicorp. Like $50,000 a year more.
Yeah.
But he went with Bank of Tokyo because when they interviewed him, he was with these guys and he went, my God, these guys, they are shoguns. I want to work with them. He was just like, they knocked his socks off. They attracted him. And he approved of them, and he said, okay, I manifested this, and he went with it. He didn't care that much about the money, so he made $300 rather than $350 or whatever it was. But, he didn't care that much about it. He wanted to be at a place where he really wanted to be.
That's what my father did. He moved here rather than going to MIT, Jet Propulsion Lab, Caltech, or Princeton.
Right.
So a lot of infighting, and he came to IIT where they really revered him, for one thing, because what he brought to the table, and because of the working condition, the people he was working with, he loved them.
Well, they were more intellectual and less political, presumably.
No, they weren't any more intellectual. High-powered shit at MIT, but...
Maybe, but see, that's the thing, is that
Yeah,
where it's political, it can be high-powered, but politics interferes with
Right.
intellectual pursuits.
There was politics at
It's
IIT
just the
too.
way things are.
Yeah.
So, well, all right, seems like we're drawing to a close. Obviously we've named enough things that can get in the way so that people can see their own things that get in the way. So we don't actually have to name any more
Do
things.
we have to do part 2 where we name things that, how to recognize, how to use the manifesting?
You can't.
You can't?
It's not possible.
Oh, okay.
No, you have to be completely clear
I see.
to recognize what you manifest.
I see.
If you're not, you're gonna think you manifested something and it's this toxic thing.
Right.
And you go, oh, I manifested this wonderful thing, and it's killing you. And then, and the thing you've manifested, then this other thing will come along that you manifest, you won't even see it. You'll walk right by it.
Bless you.
Thank you.
So this is tough shit here. I mean, there's no formula, no easy formula like in The Secret movie. You gotta cure shit. And the one thing I can promise you is the more you cure, the more you will be able to recognize what you manifest. And another thing I can promise you is the reason I came up with this outline is because if you do behaviors that are effective, good behaviors, the behaviors themselves will cure you. So there's a phrase in engineering that I learned from this book that I'm reading now called The Checklist Manifesto, and the phrase is called forced function.
Forced function.
Yeah, there is such a thing as forced function. And whenever you're using a checklist, that's what you're doing. You're forcing function. So,
That's what we used to say. We burned up our attachments by
Yep.
doing things.
That's right. When you're using your, your outline, you are forcing yourself to be functional for that level of time. Now, obviously, this is an art, not a science, because, you can be very, very dysfunctional running that outline and get nowhere and go, oh, this thing doesn't work and whatever. It's all going to happen, So, I'm just saying here, okay, that you are a team of real experts, like the surgeons in this book that I'm reading about using outlines. And, like you're masters at showing people how to cure things, and also masters at getting people to do things for themselves and care about themselves and all these other things. Like, you're really nurturing people. Like, you're good at this. So, I'm not going to try to get some guy out there to use the outline. I'm going to take people who cure things all day, and I'm going to say, okay, now you can try this. This can be good for you. And what we can find is that maybe you will get better at recognizing, and you just get weller, and you'll start to see the things that you manifest, like when you were with these women, as you were talking about, Barb, and you saw how they were wonderful people, and you'll say, you'll let yourself be attracted. You see what I mean?
Let them be attracted to me?
No, they are attracting you, and you will let yourself be attracted to them.
Yeah,
and run the outline. And when you're attracted to somebody, that's what you do. You run the outline with people you're attracted to. If somebody turns you off, you do not run the outline with them. If you're running the outline and they do something that turns you off, you stop running the outline.
Yeah, that's cool, because actually that's kind of what's been happening. That's cool. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
They have to want it too.
Okay. So
they're running their outlines on me, so
so with that, I think that we can say that we have a good movie about, getting a higher return on what you manifest here, like taking better advantage of what you manifest, yeah?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'm linking my results bodies with everybody.
I'm more attracted to an ally now than I was before.
Well, Ross and Greg, would you just... Here you see the home page of curedrive.org, which is the Cure College on the web that we have put here for you to come learn how to cure medically incurable diseases. Now, at the top of the page, the home page, which you should be on right here, and I want to recommend, if you have not already, get to this page by opening a tab. Do not turn this movie off. Open a tab so that you can still hear me talking. And leave this tab open and then go to this website. Now, the tally that you see, 132K, people ask, where does that come from? And if you notice, right above it, and this is, by the way, on every page in the Web College, it says Report Cure. If I click on that, it goes to a page where there's a little form to fill out where you can report your cures. Now I will press the incredible back button and go back to the home page of curedrive.org. And also, if you want to contact us, there's a little link here that says Contact. And you'll notice that we put our phone numbers in here. We feel more comfortable being called on the phone. So it's just easier to talk, and this is a very big subject, and we find that it saves us time and work if people call us. Now we document our cures. This movie that you're watching here is an example of that. this is a movie where people cure things on camera, and you watch them. You watch them curing things. For example, the woman here, and at this point in the movie, is curing a flu. And if you watch this movie, you'll discover that she comes in with fully developed flu symptoms, including headache and God knows what else, and the symptoms disappear in around 20 minutes. That's how fast this is. Personally, I have not had a flu even try to come on since 1993, when I cured my herpes. My 20th anniversary, by the way, just passed. 20th anniversary of my herpes cure in April of 2013. Okay, if you look again above the Cure Drive, logo, I guess it is, and what you'll see is the Cure Show. There's a link to go to the Cure Show. And the Cure Shows are another way that we documented our cures. And for example, you'll find letters at the top of the Cure Show, and if you click the letter F, it takes you to fibromyalgia, where you see a lot of, or 2 people curing fibromyalgia actually. And underneath it, there are many, many shows on flu. We had a flu hotline. And what you'll find with this is that people with similar conditions get parallel results. Like these people who cured their flu, or I don't think we ever had a person come in to cure the flu that, you know, was just getting it. You know, they all had it for a couple of days. There they are. And they, you hear their flu cure during the call in around 20 minutes. So there are about 100 diseases represented on this page. Acid reflux, abuse. There are, you know, conditions can be considered diseases also. Oh, such as traumatic stress syndrome from 9/11, the, World Trade Center attack. A woman actually cured her traumatic stress syndrome from that. So now if we're back on the home page again, and up here at the top it says Login Hub, and or sign up. If you don't have a password, you can sign up, or you can log in, and you come to the hub of the Cure College. This is the hub, not the home page. And new people who come here, many people just come in and get a password right away. They instantly get a password and come in, and they say, "What is this?" It's gigantic. Over here, this is the basic skill. Skill 1 is cure physical diseases. And it has 10 applications. Remove viruses, cure cancer, end trauma, recode your DNA. With certain diseases, you must recode your DNA to cure the disease. This may be true, for example, of viral-based diseases such as herpes simplex, Epstein-Barr, and so on. And each one has 2 links underneath it. Now if I click on where it says lessons under Recode Your DNA, and these are the lessons. There's this huge page of lessons on recoding DNA. And one of the lessons is remove adverse DNA mutations you catch from other people. Bet you didn't know you were doing that. But you do, and here's the lesson on that, and then you scroll down and there's all these questions. That's how the lessons work. You probably, if this is the first movie you've ever watched, you are probably not ready for a password right now. But you should probably know this is here at the same time and some things about it. For example, here's an application of Skill 1, which is, what is Skill 1, do you recall? Cure physical diseases, right? And it's called the safety web. See it? Right here, the safety web. If I click on that, what I come to is a page of lessons about, and there's quite a few lessons on this page, about the safety web. Now basically, it's very simple. God isn't going to let you fail. You know, a woman asked me, I was telling her to remove all bacteria from her physical body. And she said, well, if I remove all bacteria from my physical body, what, you know, will I remove my beneficial intestinal bacteria? And I said, no. You're not going to remove your beneficial intestinal bacteria. You're going to, you know, God won't let you do that. You know, you're safe. However, there's more to the safety web than that. So you'd want to know about the safety web. Also, there's an application called Knowingness is Power. Most people ignore it. The reason it's here is because knowingness is curative. A lot of times things that you cure happen just because you know something. Now, curing physical diseases is the lowest level of study in this web college. For example, here, which is in the mid-level, there's a skill called 3 spiritual diseases. Do you see it? That's only skill 9. There are 12 skills. So another one is about function. Reinstall your functions. Another one is about reclaiming your immune system so that you can be immune to these things and you won't have to cure cancer or herpes. You won't not get it. As I said before, have not had a flu in 20 years. I haven't had a flu even try to come on in the last 20 years. Okay. If you're not ready for a password yet, and by the way, when you're new, you're probably better off with one of these options. These are the best options for new people, which are next to the movie. And that's when you know you want to start and you're ready. You're ready. You've like learned it and you understand how to do it. What you probably want to start getting a signal first. And if you notice under this movie, you should start getting a signal when you watch during this movie, which is now 4.5 hours, and there's many illustrations of people getting signals, so hopefully you'll pick it up while you're doing that. But if not, there's an entire page of signals, including a movie that plays automatically at the top, which is a very good lesson with a lot of very serious people getting signals as the movie goes along, illustrating how they get signals. And then there are all these other movies about signals as you go down the page. This little tripod is wandering. I'm trying to hold this with my hand while I show this to you. So now, that's an example of some of the other things that are on here. This is our Twitter feed, this black thing, so that you can see what advanced people, because everybody who posts on this has been doing it for a while and, are curing things. A lot of these people have already cured their herpes or their other thing that they came to cure, their chronic fatigue syndrome and so on, and now they're, this is just some things I cooked. It's not about cooking, okay? But anyway, there's lots of people just talking about what they're the more advanced things that they're doing, and these are all people who've cured many things in the past, and probably never get the flu, as I don't. None of us ever get the flu anymore. We don't get sick in that way. That's pretty basic, not getting the flu. So if you're not ready for a password, the thing to do is just keep watching movies. And let me show you something about that. There are lots of movies to watch. Here's one that says I cured it in 10 minutes, and lots of people are interested in this. This is a popular movie. This woman is very experienced with this. She's been doing it about 15 years. And but see, if you go down on this movie to here where it says YouTube, and let's click on this. Let's go to the YouTube page, which is the same movie. See, you're on the same movie now. And right underneath it, there's something that says, let me just show this to you. Cure Drive is the account that the movie is in. And you see it says it has 352 videos. So the thing to do is to click on that and go in to the Cure Drive account with the 352 movies. And then, once you're there, subscribe to the account so that you can get back to it easily. And then there are other accounts too. This is not the only account. Some of them only have 25 movies. There's about 10 different accounts. But there's another one that has 250 something movies on it. This is deceptively simple and easy. As you watch these people in these movies, the cure is always instantaneous. And it gives the impression that it's over and you don't have to continue. You don't have to study. And then you get sick again because you didn't get deep enough and get everything. With that being said, I want to show you these women curing something instantly and leave you with the thought that it's probably not going to be what you expected it to be. I think when you watch these women, that's what you see here, that it's probably not going to be what you expected it to be, but it does cure, it probably will if you hang in there and stick with it. You probably will cure the thing you came to cure. Say, can I go to the 144th dimension? See if you get a signal on that. Can I go to the 144th dimension?
Can I go to the 144th dimension? Yes? I guess I can.
Go ahead and do it.
Okay,
Okay.
both of you go to the 144th dimension.
I'm taking myself to the 144th dimension.
Me too.
No stopping for gas on the 8th dimension.
I feel clear.
I feel less interested in anything below the 144th dimension.
Can we stay here all the time?
I know, exactly.